I'm Laura and welcome to Pilates for Beginners. This is going to focus on going back to basics. So we're going to focus on the fundamentals of Pilates today, and these set the foundations for all of the exercises, and especially when you start to progress and go on to the more difficult exercises. So let's start. We're going to come all the way down onto our backs. So just safely bring yourselves down. And as you come down, what we want to set up is our alignment. So if we bring our feet a comfortable distance from your bottom and line your heels up with the two sit bones, so the bony landmarks at the bottom of your pelvis. Okay? And then checking that your knees are at the same distance as your feet. From here, nod the chin gently towards the chest, so the back of your neck is long and we can see the ceiling in front of us more than behind us. Once we're there, our shoulders are relaxed back and down, and we want to be able to relax the back of our rib cage down into the mat or into the floor. And if that's difficult to achieve, you may want to block a pillow or a towel underneath your head to enable the back ribs to come down. And what we're going to now do is bring our hands to the front of the pelvis. And we're just going to identify where our two pelvic bones are and our pubic bone. And those three bones create a triangle shape. And we'll refer to this as your pelvic triangle. So just noticing where your pelvic triangle is, and then notice in the back of your pelvis that the tailbone and the back of the pelvis, which is called your sacrum, is heavy on the mat. We're going to bring our hands now to our front bottom ribs. Okay, we're going to start to begin with our thoracic breath. We're going to inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And what we want to feel is that on our in-breath, we're expanding our rib cage to the sides and to the back. So it's thoracic breath because we're breathing into the thorax, the thoracic spine area which our rib cage attaches to. It's lateral because we're breathing sideways, but we also want to feel that we're also breathing back to open the back of the rib cage. Now our breath helps to facilitate our deep abdominal connection. So I want you to breathe in as deeply as you can. And as you exhale, feel how your navel draws towards your spine. Now the control comes when we continue to breathe, so we have to feel the in of the navel even as we inhale, and feel how naturally as we exhale the navel draws in deeper. So navel to spine engages a muscle called the transverse abdominis. This helps to support your spine, your pelvis. And another muscle we want to think of is the pelvic floor. So if you visualize the pubic bone, which is at the front of the pelvis, the tailbone, which is at the back of the pelvis, and those two sit bones that we mentioned at the beginning. And on your next out breath, as well as drawing the navel towards the spine, visualize those four bones narrowing. And those four bones are going to help, as they narrow, engage the pelvic floor. And again, as we inhale, we want to feel the control of the pelvic floor and the transverse abdominis, and feel the reinforcement, the re-engagement of those muscles on your out breath. Now let's coordinate this breath and this core connection with some movement of our pelvis. So if you bring your hands down to that pelvic triangle that we identified, taking an in-breath, breathing into the sides, the back of your rib cage, and on your out breath, gently tip your pelvic triangle up towards your chest. And what happens is your lower back will round towards the mat. On your in-breath, keep the control of the abdominal muscles and the pelvic floor, and we bring the tailbone back to the mat, lift the lower back, and our pelvic triangle tips slightly forwards between our thighs. So we're going to go again, exhaling to tip the pelvis backwards, pelvic triangle towards the chest, lower back to the mat. In breath, to feel the tailbone come to the mat, the lower back lift, and your pelvic triangle tip between the thighs. So we're just gently moving between your backwards tilt and your forwards tilt of your pelvis. And we're trying to keep the shoulders relaxed and the neck relaxed as we do this, and keep the back of your rib cage in contact with the mat. Now let's find our neutral pelvic alignment. So what I'd like you to do is gradually make your backwards tilt and your forwards tilt smaller. And as we make them smaller, we're going to eventually find the centre of your backwards and forwards tilt. And we're going to check, so you can lift your head up for this, just check that your two pelvic bones and your pubic bone are level with each other, so that triangle that they create is now parallel to the ceiling. That is when we are in our neutral pelvic alignment. And then to identify that our spine is in neutral also, we're checking that the tailbone and the sacrum are down. This time, we're feeling that we have a space or a feeling of lightness between the lower back and the mat. The rib cage again stays on the mat, the back of the head is on the mat, but the neck is long as we gently nod the chin. So these checkpoints will bring us to neutral. We're going to stabilise the spine now, so working to keep the pelvis and spine still. So find navel to spine, that tightening of the waistband, and pelvic floor lift, so that narrowing of the four bones at the bottom of your pelvis. And you're going to, when you're ready, on your exhale, lift one leg to tabletop. We're going to lower this foot all the way to the floor, replace the foot where it started, and then change sides. So the position that the leg lifts to is tabletop. The exercise that we're doing with the leg is called a knee fold. What we're trying to do, and the aim of the exercise, is to keep the pelvis and spine still. So here's where we need that control through the navel to spine and pelvic floor. Now moving the legs starts to create load on the torso, which means the abdominals have to control the spine, the pelvis, and everything else. So you're going to feel that we have to do some work here. And the weight of the leg that's lifting is going to create a rotational force. So you'll notice how the pelvis will want to rotate towards the lifting leg. So what we have to think of is drawing the opposite side of the body into the mat. We're feeling the opposite hip heavier, which is going to anticipate the lift of the leg and going to prevent the pelvis from rotating towards the leg that's lifting. So when we're ready, we're going to lift one leg up to tabletop and we're going to keep it there. We're going to go for a leg extension or a single leg stretch. So we reach the leg out, bend the leg back in. Keep going with this. Now a straight leg is a lot heavier than a bent leg. So you'll notice how the abdominals, navel to spine and pelvic floor connection has to deepen. And we're only going to take a range that we feel that we can keep that control and keep any tension out the neck and the shoulders. As the leg comes back to tabletop this time, lower the foot, change sides. So for me, as I'm breathing and moving, generally my exhale is going to be on the most difficult part of the exercise. So here, exhaling to reach out, inhaling to draw back in. And we want to feel that our breath is natural for us. So if we're a beginner, just make sure that you're breathing. If we've not done Pilates before, the breath, as well as thinking of everything else, can be quite a challenge. So when we come back to tabletop this time, we're going to lower the foot all the way. We're going to challenge this more if we can. So we're going to lift one leg, our first leg, to tabletop. Again, feel the back of the pelvis, the rib cage into the mat, and at the same time draw navel and pelvic floor up. That feeling of back of the body and abdominal connection is going to draw you down, help you stabilise. I want you to get a feeling of lightening the second foot off the mat. If you feel you can, without allowing your abdominals to do a doming action, what we call abdominal doming, keep navel to spine, we're going to lift the second leg. Now if you find that the back is arched from the mat, the neck and shoulders have become tense, or we've got that abdominal doming in our abdominal area, this is a little bit too much for you right now. Bring the feet back to the mat, stay with the first option. But if we can, we're going to have a go at lowering one foot towards the mat, any amount, and lift up. So the hardest part is when the leg lowers. We're going to exhale as it lowers, inhale as it lifts. So you can stay with the knee fold, or we can go with our leg lower and lift. We're just going to do one more, so make this one your last one. And if we can, a leg extension. So we reach the leg out, single leg stretch, and then bring it back in. Again, exhaling as you reach away, inhaling as we come in. So using your breath here, because naturally on your out breath, that is going to connect deeper with your transverse abdominis and your pelvic floor. And once you've done this repetition, lower your feet to the mat, lower your arms, and just double check your alignment is neutral. Coming up into a shoulder bridge, so beginning with our pelvic tilts we did at the start, inhaling through the nose and exhaling, tipping your pelvic triangle towards the chest. Lower back rounds to the mat. This time we're going to start to lift the tailbone, the sacrum, the lower back. Feel that you're lifting your waist and your rib cage, and we're coming up only as high as we feel we can. So we may have stopped a little bit sooner than what I have, and that's fine. Now when we get to the top, feel that you're reaching your thigh bones forwards. Knees are reaching over your toes, and we've got that connection through the bottom. So we're pushing the front of the hips up towards the ceiling to open the front of the hips. The back of the rib cage is trying to stay soft towards the mat. So we're not allowing the front ribs to push up. We're keeping the back muscles long and extended. We're feeling the abdominals and the back of the hips. We're going to come back down, so we continue to tip the pelvis towards the chest, but feel the abdominals draw down to find that articulation of the spine. When your pelvis comes back to the mat, let your tailbone drop. So we're doing a very small forwards tilt of the pelvis to bring the pelvis to neutral, and we will find that lower space, or that feeling of lightness at your lower back. Let's go again, we'll do two more. So on your out breath, tip the pelvis backwards, let the spine roll up. Let the knees reach forwards, feel that control of the glutes, the hamstrings, the back of the hips and the legs, the abdominals around your waist. Start to roll back down. So you're feeling how each vertebrae, each rib comes to the mat one at a time. Okay, one more time. So using your breath, keeping the arms relaxed into the mat, feeling the shoulder blades relax as well, and the collarbones are staying wide. Check your neck is still long. Check into your alignment. So checking that the pubic bone is always higher than belly button and front bottom ribs. And as we land to the mat, check your alignment again. Are you in neutral? Because we're going to do a different bridge. So we articulated. This time we are going to do a neutral bridge. So we press down into the feet and send the pelvis straight up to the ceiling. Same feeling that we got before, open hips, relaxed rib cage. This time we create a crease at the hip joints. We bend from the hips and we lower the pelvis straight to the mat. And again, so we exhale to lift, inhale to lower. So I almost feel that I'm reaching my bottom towards the mat as I lower back down. You'll feel that the pelvis, your bottom and the back of your rib cage finds the mat at around about the same time. So you're just going to do one more. And then as we lower all the way down, we're going to stay here. So we should feel a bit of heat through the abdominal muscles there. We're going to come into a side lying position now. So changing our position. And what we're going to check is that our feet, our hips, our shoulders and our ears are all in the same line. Find a position for your underneath shoulder that is comfortable. So you might want a block, pillow or towel again. You want to imagine now that you have an imaginary wall behind you. So the feet, the pelvis, the back of the shoulders and the head are in contact with that imaginary wall. So exactly the same alignment that we had when we were laying on the mat. And our hand is going to be in front of our tummy, or we're going to bring our hand to our pelvis. And bringing our hand to our pelvis is just going to bring some awareness to what the pelvis is doing. I want you to think of lengthening your waist and lifting and lengthening your waist off the mat. We're trying to keep both sides of the waist equally as long so we feel the waistline working. Keep your feet squeezed together. roll the shoulder back and down, take an in breath, and then exhale, open the top knee into a climb. Inhale to lower back down, and then exhale to push out. Now we're coming into external rotation of your thigh bones, so we're moving from the hip joint. And I want you to focus on what we did again at the beginning, keeping your pelvis as still as you possibly can. So the more we keep the pelvis still, the more we're going to target the muscles around the glutes, around the hip area, and the more it becomes an abdominal exercise because your abdominals have to support the spine and the pelvis. Okay, so we're going to do one more here. And we're going to challenge this more. So we're going to lift the top leg and reach the leg out. So a long leg, remember, a straight leg is heavier than a bent leg. So keeping the waist long, reach the leg long, inhale and exhale, lift without moving the pelvis, inhale, lower. Once again, exhale, lift, inhale, lower. We're just going to do 3 more here. Exhale, lift. Notice my waist isn't sinking to the mat as the leg lifts. My core is controlling my spine. And last one, and then bend the knee and lower the feet down. So hopefully we're still in the same position with our body that we were when we set up. So let's try that on the other side. Come up and round. I'm going to try and get through a lot of the setup positions today so you can have a go. So same feeling, we're up against a wall. We're stacking our 2 pelvic bones, our knees, our feet. We want to make sure that the knees aren't too far forwards because it's a lot to ask for our hip joint. Have we got our waist lifted, our abdominals engaged? Thoracic breath, so side and back of the rib cage. And on your out breath, open the top knee to a climb. Inhale to close. Now, although we haven't got any resistance, i.e. any weights or any resistance bands, we want to feel that we're creating our own resistance through the movement. So I'm thinking of pushing something away with my thigh bone and squeezing something between my thighs as I bring my knees together. And I'm almost pushing my feet together as well. I'm squeezing them together to get a little bit of inner thigh connection. And we just got one more. Keeping the shoulders relaxed away from the ears, eye gaze forwards. Lift the top leg, reach it out, take an in-breath. Keep the waist long, exhale, lift the leg only as high as you can, and then inhale, lower. So remember, the stability of your pelvis here is the most important. So we've got to think about balance because we're on our side. We've got to think about our alignment. And if we ever feel that a movement compensates our alignment, it's what can we do to keep our alignment? Maybe we need to reduce the load, maybe we need to come down a level and release. Okay, we're going to come into a prone position. So this is laying on our front. I want you to have your feet about hips distance. Go wider if this feels better for the placement of your pelvis. And your forearms to the sides of your mat or on the ground into what I call a W shape. So forehead to the mat, chin tucks in. And I want you to check that the 3 bones at the front of your pelvis are on the mat equally. The pubic bone is going to be slightly, ever so slightly heavier. Your tailbone reaches back. We engage the glutes but without squeezing them. Gently pull the navel in towards the spine. So we're lightening the tummy on the mat. And my legs are reaching. They're engaging but they're not moving. Shoulders slide down. Take an in-breath, and when you're ready, we're going to lift the chest up. So breathing in as the chest bone lifts. Exhale to lower the chest down, then the head. So chest lift. As my chest lifts, I'm gently sliding my shoulder blades down away from my ears, and then lowering down. Now we're keeping the front bottom ribs on the mat, and this is going to isolate your thoracic spine. So the part of your spine that bends forwards and the part of the spine where your rib cage is. So as we lift the chest, keep the front bottom ribs heavy. Feel how your chest bone reaches forwards and up. And as we feel the collarbones wide, you're going to notice how the muscles across your middle back, bra strap area are going to work. Just 2 more, so keeping some energy through the legs, and the main thing is that we're not feeling pinching in our lower back. We're noticing how the abdominals gently lift, supporting the lower spine, and we're not allowing gravity to sink the lower back down. So as we lower, bring your hands by your shoulders and push all the way up. Just take a quick stretch back into a shell stretch or a child's pose. So the lifting of the chest that we've just done is spinal extension. It's swan preparation. They're really good for posture and opening up the front of the body. Okay, come into all fours, so hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And what we want to check is that the spine is straight like a tabletop. So the tailbone and the crown of the head are reaching in 2 directions away from each other. The shoulders are sliding down away from the ears, and the 3 bony landmarks at the front of the pelvis, your pelvic triangle, are level to the floor. Navel is in and up, and I'm getting a feeling of pushing gently with my arms into the ground, and this is going to bring the back of my rib cage in contact with my shoulder blades. From this position, we're going to inhale, and as you exhale, we're going to do the pelvic tilt. So you're going to tip your pelvis backwards, the pubic bone lifts towards the belly button, and the tailbone drops and curls under. We're going to inhale to lengthen the tailbone back, reach the crown of your head forwards, feel the control of the abdominal muscles. Let's go again. So exhaling to tip the pelvis backwards, and inhaling to lengthen. So I want you to notice how the abdominals have to do the work to round your spine and just your lower back. So we've got to keep the upper back still, the neck and the head also. So last one, and if you've got the control of this, we're going to go into a cat stretch. So as we tip the pelvis backwards, we round the lower back, the middle back, the waist area, the back ribs lift up to the ceiling, the neck comes forwards, the chin tucks and we look towards the navel, shoulders stay away from the ears, and start to lengthen the tailbone back, lengthen the lower back, the waist, the rib cage, and the neck and head lifts last. Let's just do 1 more of these. So exhaling to tip the pelvis back, round through the spine, feel the abdominals draw up, the pelvic floor lift, pubic bones really trying to lift to the belly button. And then as you lengthen back, feel the 2 ends of your spine reach. Okay, come to sitting very briefly. Now in any sitting position, we're just going to sit in a place that feels comfortable for yourself today. We want to check that we are aligned. So I'll show you from the side. We want to be sitting right up on our 2 sit bones. The sit bones are those bony landmarks at the bottom of your pelvis. And if we bring our hands to the front of your pelvis to your pelvic triangle, your triangle now will be parallel to the wall in front of you. Okay, that pelvic triangle will be vertical to the floor. Now when we're sitting, we want to feel that we're lifting out of our lower back, we're lifting the chest up and the shoulder blades down. The crown of your head reaches up as if a piece of string is drawing the spine, the crown of the head, taller to the ceiling. Now when we start to do movements in sitting, it's really challenging to keep this. So what I want to do is a rotation. If we take our hands across our chest, keep this position and we're going to rotate to one side. As you rotate, can you keep that feeling of sitting tall and back to centre? And to the other side. And back to centre. Just going to move to the front so you can see front way. So we're exhaling to rotate. And inhaling to come back to centre. Now as you rotate, we want to feel how we're keeping central with the spine. So we're imagining that we have a pole through the centre of the spine and we can only rotate around that pole. Okay, we're going to do 1 more to the side. and come back to centre and release your arms. So even just sitting tall without doing any movement is challenging. So that is the end of the class today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to, please subscribe below, and if you can, click on the bell and that will give you a notification when more videos come. Hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.